What is going on, guys? This is the Inside the Boot Podcast, episode number 26, and today we're breaking down the New York Giants and the Saquon Barkley situation. As we all know as Giants fans that Saquon has yet to re-sign with us. Thus far, the Giants are working towards an extension with running back Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, we know he is a talented player, and we hope the Giants can get a deal done. And for Saquon Barkley and his camp, they want to be a Giant. They have said they want to be back with the New York Giants. Maybe it's a money thing or something, but the Giants have tried their best to get Saquon back. They have tried multiple times, but Saquon has said no. And Saquon's a great player. We know Saquon Barkley is an amazing player for the Giants, and that's gonna be the main topic that we talk about is Saquon Barkley today. We'll dive into other things as well, but for the most part, we're going to be talking about Saquon Barkley. And, with Saquon, he carried the offense last season, and it all started in week one. In week one, he carried the team against the Tennessee Titans team that did not make the playoffs last year, but, still, that was a close game. They won literally off a field goal that was missed by the kicker for the Titans. And that's how they won that game. And Saquon Barkley, he did his job. He had a ton of good runs, found a way to get a 2-point conversion for the team, which was a ballsy call, in my opinion. I didn't expect Brian Dable to do that, but, he went with his gut and he went with his best player. And Saquon Barkley, went to the end zone for that touchdown. But, it's all in the past now. Saquon Barkley is obviously, he is a guy that I think they should definitely re-sign. I think, we all know that, we all know Saquon's caliber. He's one of the best running backs in the league, and I think, it's really how much do you pay him? Because you look at, what has gone on, with the recent running back market. Saquon has stated he doesn't want to reset the market. He wants to keep it how it is right now. We all know that Christian McCaffrey is the lead runner in money terms. He is making $16 million per year, and you question how much do you sign Saquon Barkley for. But regardless, they got to get him signed, I think. With what the offense is right now and what Saquon Barkley means to this squad, I think you should re-sign him. I think just with what the Giants have done with this team and how they're built, Saquon Barkley should be around. And, yes, I know the narrative of, paying these running backs has not treated teams nicely, but I think you just look at the situation and you see that, Saquon Barkley has to be re-signed. Look at the 49ers offense. Christian McCaffrey fits in there right, and he is the lead guy in that offense. And I think, the Giants should do that with Saquon Barkley. Just build the offense around Saquon and Daniel Jones, because we also know, Daniel Jones is back. 4 years, $40 million per year. And I did not expect them to go to that mark. I don't know if he's going to be worth $40 million per year, to be honest. And that's just me going with my gut instinct. I don't know if he is, because he's a decent quarterback right now with what his career has been. He's a decent quarterback, and he doesn't throw for many touchdowns, right? 2019, 24 touchdowns. This season, only 15, right? And, that's a huge dip, right? That's 9 touchdown difference, and Daniel Jones he relies on his legs a lot, because the offensive line for the Giants is, mid. It's pretty mid, and it doesn't always get the job done. On the left side, Andrew Thomas, he's an all-star caliber franchise tackle. Whatever you want to name him, he's your franchise left tackle, and he will get, the bag when his contract is up. And I have no doubt in my mind that Andrew Thomas will be a Giant for life. But, another thing is Isaiah Pacheco. I know he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's got a ring, and he doesn't make that much money, and he's a star talent. He's got speed. He can truck through you. He's a really good player. But the Giants are obviously not the Kansas City Chiefs. I just wanted to get that out there because, I mean, you know, you can find great running backs in the draft, right? You could find speedy guys that play like Saquon, and they won't even make close to what Saquon could make, right? They'll be on a rookie contract. I think the Giants, if they were to re-sign him, they're gonna have to give him probably $15 million per year. I think 5 years, $85 million is a decent contract for him, and if they want to go 4 years, give him 60 for it. I mean, I would pay him $16 million a year, unless they do different types of money structure, But regardless, if Saquon Barkley was to make, 15 and a half, he'd be right there at the number 2 spot. Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints, he makes 15, and McCaffrey, like I previously stated, makes 16. So he'd be right there. And Dalvin Cook makes about 12 and a half, but he's not on the team right now, and we don't know where he's gonna go. But regardless, I mean, according to Bob Brookover over at NewJersey.com, the Giants offered Saquon Barkley a multi-year contract with a base annual value of $13 million and a chance with the incentives to reach $14 million. So, that's a contract that I thought was perfect. I thought that would be the one. I get the notification on my phone. Saquon Barkley has re-signed with the New York Giants, but that is not the case yet. I hope he re-signs, though. I think, I've stated it already. He's a star player. I mean, this guy can juke you. He's got speed. He's got elusiveness. He's got everything you want out of a running back, and he can catch the football. Not every, running back can do both of that. I think, Christian McCaffrey's good at it. I think Saquon's good at it. I think those are two guys right now that come to my head that are running backs that can do it, both ways, catching it and running it. But, Saquon had a good year last year under the Brian Dable era. He had 1,300 yards, 4.4 yards per carry on the ground. I mean, that's good numbers for Saquon. And, this is, again, not a great offensive line. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it. They're not great. And I want to see improvement out of, right tackle Evan Neal. I think, what I've seen so far is he's been improving in training camp. And the OTAs and everything, all that. But, you got to get improvement out of him. Because last year his feet were bad. Everything was bad, and it was not good. I mean, if you watch the tape, the only offensive lineman that wasn't getting beat was Andrew Thomas. You saw the rest of the right side completely collapsing, and it just looked like traffic cones, in all honesty. But, I mean, with what Bob mentioned, 13 million incentives of hope to reach 14 million. Hopefully that's all they have to go to. I mean, I don't want them paying $15 million for a running back. There are so many other positions that are in need, and you could just replace a running back like a snap of a finger. I mean, running back is probably the easiest position to replace, in my opinion. And there's just so many teams that have done it already, They just find players and they just replace them. I mean, do I think the Giants are going to let Saquon Barkley go? Probably not. I think Saquon is going to stay with the team. It's just the money that I'm worried about. And another player that I'm kind of worried about, if Saquon Barkley decides to not re-sign with the Giants and leave, is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, he is a quarterback that relies on his legs. He does it really well. He had over 700 rushing yards last year and a few touchdowns. So that's a good part of the game that I like out of Daniel Jones. I mean, we're starting to see more more quarterbacks that are more mobile. Justin Fields, for an example, that guy can run for days. But the question is, how good of a passer truly is he? And, I think the Bears are okay with him, running that much, but we're not the Bears. We're not breaking down the Bears. We're breaking down the New York Giants. And the Giants did a nice job getting weapons for Daniel Jones. Joe Shane was not joking around about getting weapons. He went out of his way and went to get Darren Waller from the Las Vegas Raiders for virtually nothing. I think he gave him like a third-round pick from the Kadarius Toney trade. I mean, that's great value in my eyes. Daniel Jones now has a top level tight end to throw to the ball to, and don't not disclude Daniel Bellinger. He is definitely put on some size, and there was a picture on Instagram that he just looked yoked. But those two could be a good duo. Daniel Bellinger has been a good blocker so far in last season. Really, he hasn't played much, but the thing with Daniel Jones, he just got the big contract, so this means he's your franchise QB for the next 4 years. They don't have any intention to trade Daniel Jones, of course, because they just re-signed him. But Daniel Jones with Saquon Barkley is pretty good. He's pretty good. He has a passing rating of 91.4, 7,835 yards, 44 touchdowns, and just 17 interceptions in 35 games played with Saquon Barkley. So that's about a touchdown per game. But the bad news is without Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is not nearly the same quarterback without Saquon Barkley. He is just, I wouldn't consider it a train wreck, but the numbers are bad. The numbers are bad. 77.3 passing rating, 3,768 yards, and he's throwing 16 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in 19 games without Saquon Barkley in his career. So, the yards are cut in half, the touchdowns are, pretty much cut in half, and he's throwing the same amount of interceptions, but 35 games is a lot different than 19, and that's just a problem. That is a problem that thankfully Saquon is here for now. He's on a franchise tag, but he's not willing to play under a franchise tag, and he has stated that clearly. If he is still on a franchise tag, he is not playing for the team this year, and I think he's going to miss football a lot if he doesn't do that. And things can change. Maybe later today we find out that Saquon Barkley is a Giant, but right now that doesn't seem to be the way. And another thing with Daniel Jones in his career is he's averaging less than 3,000 passing yards and averaging about 15 touchdowns per season. That is not a franchise QB. You need more touchdowns. Joe Shane got him more weapons, so hopefully he hits, 25, 28, maybe 30 touchdowns this season. That'd be huge for Daniel Jones and his development. He's been turning the ball over a lot less with Brian Dable, and Brian Dable has really helped them out. He helped out Josh Allen. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to be the next Josh Allen. I don't think so. Josh Allen has a solidified wide receiver one. The wide receiver one for the Giants, I don't know who is. Is it Darius Slayton? Is it going to be Jalen Hyatt? Is it going to be Paris Campbell? We don't know, right? But Stephon Diggs is a top 5 wide receiver, undoubtedly. So, but the thing is, Jones has more weapons. Jalen Hyatt, they just got out of the draft, and I really didn't think they were going to get Jalen Hyatt. I wasn't down on him. I never said anything, that he was a bad wide receiver. He's a great wide receiver. I just didn't think they were going to go that route. Maybe they trade up and get a guy like Jordan Addison, maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba, or Quentin Johnson or Zay Flowers. I thought Zay Flowers was maybe going to be there, but in my head, I just didn't think any of those wide receivers I named were going to be there at 25. And, the Giants went Deonte Banks. Good player. He's looked good in training camp. He's going to be a great cornerback. He's physical. He's a good player. And we didn't really break down the draft that much on this podcast. So I think the Giants had a good draft. Looking at it, at 25, there were 3 players projected at that spot. From Maryland, Deonte Banks, John Michael Schmitz, he was projected there, and from Tennessee, Jalen Hyatt. We were all projected at 25 from multiple reporters, and they have all 3 on their team now. So that's a really good job from drafting. Would I have liked a guy like Zay Flowers? Of course. Would I have liked a guy like Jordan Addison? of course. But, they are on the Baltimore Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings. And, now we get into it. Do I think the Giants are going to make the playoffs this year? Hopefully. I mean, they got a tough schedule this year. We know the Eagles are an elite team. We know the Cowboys are good. The Washington Commanders are not on your level. So at the bare minimum, you're finishing third in the NFC East. Now we just look at the NFC in general. I think your Tier 1 teams are like the 49ers and the Eagles. You look at Tier 2, maybe the Giants sneak in there. I could see, a team like the Seahawks being in the Tier 2. The Cowboys, obviously. There's a lot of good teams. I think the Giants could definitely fit in that Tier 2. You can maybe throw the Lions in there Tier 2 this year. I know a lot of people have a lot of hype on the Lions this year. A lot of new names heading to the Lions. And, the Lions are a good team. They smacked the Giants last year. So did the Seahawks. But the Giants have a tough schedule. That is the bottom line. And we will see how the Giants do under Brian Daboll in his second year, under Joe Shane in his second year, and a lot of new weapons. I'm excited to see this offense ball out. I mean, even the Giants' defense looks good. They got Bobby Okereke, I believe his name is. I know a lot of people have mispronounced his name. Pat McAfee, I think, mispronounced his name on draft night. That was hilarious, that video. I don't know what that video is. But it's definitely out around there. But the Giants, they are a good team now. I think the Giants have solidified themselves as a good football team. Maybe not a great one. I've seen, them be compared to Kansas City Little from Dan over at ESPN. I've seen this team get projected to miss the playoffs. I've seen this team projected 8 wins, 9 wins. I've seen someone say the Giants are winning 11 games this year. I don't know how many wins the Giants are going to get this year. But I expect at least 9 wins. If the Giants don't get 9 wins this year, then I think that's a failure. I think the Giants only finished 9 wins last season. Granted, they did have a much easier schedule and they beat up on the teams they should have won, but they lost to playoff teams. It was nice to win a round against the Minnesota Vikings. That was nice because I thought they were a fraudulent team. I didn't think the Vikings were that good. And the Giants exposed them. They were a very creative team, creative offense with Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll. And I think people are starting to, see the Giants as a team to watch out for in the next few seasons. But another thing is, will they have Saquon on their team? Will there be a new running back in the backfield? Will it be Eric Gray this year? Will it be Brightwell? Will it be Matt Breida? A lot of questions for this Giants team. And, I don't know. I don't know what to think of Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to resign. I'm just worried about the money right now. Because I just think this is a good team on paper. I think they have a lot of weapons now. They have, Jalen Hyatt. He's got a ton of speed. He's got a nice tight end. He's got Daniel Jones has no excuse to not throw for 25 or more touchdowns this season. That's my thing, and I think that's how we're going to wrap this podcast up. We're talking about the Giants, of course. We're talking about the Yankees, of course. We're talking about the Rangers, of course. This has been the Inside the Boot podcast. I am your host, Vin, and it has been a pleasure to break down the Giants today. Of course, Daniel Jones, we'll see how he does this season. We're going to break it all down. We're going to break down the games. We're going to see if Saquon Barkley is a Giant. I hope he is. And, of course, this has been the Inside the Boot podcast, guys. So long. Stay safe out there, guys. And click that notification bell and subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Peace.